Alright, so I've been teasing you a lot when it comes to creating content with specific gear, mostly on a budget. So today is the day we're going to be talking about all of that. I'm going to be giving you different budget brackets in order to have things like camera, lighting, and audio. We're not going to be focusing on the main components. For example, I'm filming with a phone right now. If you're using a computer in order to record your stuff, I'm not going to tell you, hey, this is the computer you should buy. But I'm going to try to tell you, hey, this is a good webcam for that price range. This is a good DSLR for that price range, microphone, and all that good stuff, okay? I should warn, everything here is going to be an estimation. I probably do not own every single piece of gear, but I do have a couple of things, and I'm going to try my best to give you some actual examples, especially when it comes to why you would use one thing versus the other. The focus here is results, okay? Is results. Is it going to look good? Is it going to sound good? If the answer is yes, money has nothing to do with it. And of course, in proper YouTuber fashion, there will be a bunch of affiliate links in the description. Make sure you check them out. If you buy anything from those links, I actually get a little bit of a commission. So it's a win-win. Talking about wins, today's sponsor is actually a win. And today's sponsor is Own3d, a service that is made to work with OBS Studio. The goal here is to give you everything you need as a live streamer. Own3d gives you access to the largest overlay pack library. And on top of that, those overlay packs are available in multiple languages. The overlay packs are one-click install, and Own3d is compatible with Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook gaming. If you already tried Own3d and you're having issues with OBS 28, make sure you log into your dashboard and check out the instructions right here. And if you haven't tried it yet, make sure you check it out at own.gg/GuileLevelPro. That is own3d.gg/GuileLevelPro. Also, use code GALE to get 50% off at checkout. Let's begin with the most accessible thing. You guys have phones, right?
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones.
This is why you don't want to just shoot on your phone. The audio is gonna sound terrible. So this is what it sounds like from this distance, which is basically like my arm's length right there, and with no accessories whatsoever. This is a Samsung Galaxy S20. It's not that brand new of a phone. It's not like, well, it is a flagship phone, I would say, but it's not one of those like brand new iPhone 13 or things like that, right? So do not film just like that if you want to record voices. But as you can see, for image quality, it's completely fine. So let's go over our characteristics or little checkboxes. So lighting, what am I using right now? Believe it or not, I'm actually using the effing sun, and the effing sun is effing free. I should not be saying that on a sponsored video. The sun is completely free, so you don't need any money to invest in the sun. Just film during the day, obviously. When it comes to audio, of course, it sounds like garbage. I'm using the onboard microphone on the phone. If you have one of those Bluetooth headsets, maybe it has a proper mic, maybe you could go with that. Or if you have one of those, you know, corded things, I've seen people sing on TikTok with them and they sound pretty good, use that too. And when it comes to the camera, I'm currently shooting in 1080p, mostly to make it accessible or mostly relatable to you who has only 1080p max. This camera can shoot in 4K, but 4K is always overkill. Plus I have a weird contrast in the image, so I like shooting 1080p. This is 60 FPS though. If you don't have access to 60 FPS, that's completely fine. Shoot 30, shoot 24 if you can actually. And when it comes to audio, this is what I like using. This is the Kamica VD Live 10, if I can get it open. And it's basically a set of a receiver, an emitter, or whatever. Microphone, you plug this into your phone and then you have two little microphones that you can use. We're gonna see how that sounds like right now. All right, so this is with the Kamica VD Live 10, and this is what it sounds like. You will notice that it sounds way better. Even though when I don't speak, it tends to pick up some background noise, but the solution to that is do not stop speaking. The reason why I'm holding it like that, kind of weird way, I should probably put it on a tripod or something, is that you can use it as a lav mic. It is made to be a lav mic. But as soon as I put it on my collar, we lose a little bit of frequencies of the high frequency, so it sounds a little bit more muffled, but that is definitely possible. Of course, you would not be wearing this with a turtleneck, and if it's way too obvious, you can hide it in your shirt, as you can see right now. It doesn't sound bad, but I just prefer to have my mouth directly put it at the mic to have the best quality possible. Now let's go back to lighting. The reason why I have those projectors is because I was doing the intro. I wanted to give a good image, but we're using the sun up front and then those projectors in the back. I'm gonna turn it off to give you the true result that you would get with just using the sun, your phone, and one lav mic, I guess. All right, so this is what we get with the sun only shining through a window in my kitchen, and I'm sitting right in front of it. Now there's like a little bit of bounce light because it's bouncing all over my kitchen. I have white walls, so this is nice. I could probably open up more windows to let in way more light into the room, but I don't want to do that right now. And this is the result we get. This is pretty decent, I would say, with no investment into light at all, just the microphone to sound good, which is the most important thing when it comes to video. This setup only requires your phone, a VD Live 10 from Comica, and the sun. All right, and now I added one single RGB projector. This is a 50 watt. Those are basically outdoors, also indoors. Floodlights, they're LEDs, so they don't get that hot, but they do get a little hot, so watch out for that. By adding something like 19 bucks or 14 bucks, I think they can go as low as, yeah, this is the setup you already get. Sun for your face, RGB floodlight for the background, wireless live mic for your audio, and then your phone as your camera. All right, so we switch it up one more time, and this time I'm actually using the Streamplify smallest ring light for my face, and the background is just gonna be one single RGB projector. Remember, those are cheap floodlights meant for like outside decoration or something. My curtains are all the way closed, so there's no sunlight coming in right now. Also, it's getting like, we have bad weather here, so there's not a lot of sunlight coming in anyways. So the total setup that you're looking at right now is a 1080p phone camera plus a wireless lavalier, a ring light from Streamplify, which is relatively cheap, and then one floodlight in the background, and that's it. That's all you need. The cool thing with this is that you control the light, meaning that you can record at any time of the day or the night. Oh, we're on a computer now. If you're using a normal desktop PC or a laptop, whatever, you can use this setup. We are on the Logitech C920. I heard good things about the Logitech C10, I believe it's called, but it's only a 720p webcam. The thing is, if you're live streaming, you can get away with 720p webcams. If you're planning on doing YouTube or even anything on the phone, everyone has like super high quality phones now, go with 1080p minimum. And I still recommend the Logitech C920 or the Elgato Facecam. Those are basically the two best choices, I would say. The Logitech C920's biggest advantage is that you can find it at pretty reasonable prices. It can go from 40 bucks all the way up to 100 and don't pay more than, I'd say, 50 bucks or 60 bucks for it, right? So that's the camera that we're using. We're never gonna use the mic that is integrated in the camera. Do not use that. When it comes to lighting, we are using the sun. I open up my curtains and now it's just the sun. As you can see, we get a whole lot of noise because, believe it or not, this is not enough light for us, at least. I'm in the corner of my apartment right now. I'm not really getting hit by the sun that much, so everything that is here is gonna struggle. You're gonna get a lot of noise and it's not gonna be that sharp. As you can see also, it's struggling with the focus, but I'm gonna give you some tips to make the image look better. When it comes to microphone, we are using the Elgato Wave 1 that is currently at $49 on Amazon. It is Elgato's cheapest mic. It's also amazing because it comes with software that allows you to customize it. I've always said that the day that Elgato lets you add VST plugins to their Wavelink software, I think it's called, for the audio, I'm gonna recommend this mic. This mic is gonna be the mic to have, and I believe that it's the case right now, especially if you're starting on a budget. So $49 for a mic, about 50 bucks for a webcam. That's a $100 setup, and that's what it looks like. While we're still using the sun, I still wanna give you some tips on how to make this webcam look a little bit better or feel a little bit better. The thing with this camera is that it has, I believe, 22 points of focus, but most of them are within that range, within that distance. So it's a great macro camera, but it's not a great camera when it comes to this distance. Now, when it comes to capturing, I believe we're gonna be using OBS Studio. I don't want this video to be about software. If you already have a computer and if you know a little bit, OBS Studio is what you need to use. But here's the thing with this webcam. When you first get it, it's actually not gonna look like that at all. By default, can I just put everything by default? By default, it's gonna give us like this tiny webcam that is on like a bad quality. What we want to do is make sure that we have control over the resolution in FPS type. Boom, we're gonna put it 1080p. We'll instantly have full resolution, first of all, and then we're gonna go to configure video, and this is where we're gonna start controlling the camera a little bit. So the focus problem is the most blatant. It's the most like, it's the most horrible looking thing. It makes it look non-professional at all. You're a content creator from now on. You want your stuff to look good. So we're gonna go to camera control, disable autofocus, all right? Oh, it's still not in focus. Yes. We're gonna play around with this until we feel like our face is in focus and not the background. And it's something around here. It's not super precise. You're actually gonna struggle with it a little bit. Focus 0 is infinite focus, what we call, so the background, the landscape behind you, and then when you pull, it's going closer and closer and closer. You're gonna see the background. Okay, so now the background, at least the shelf, is a little bit out of focus, but my face is not that in focus. when I put my hand here, you're gonna see that my hand is actually the thing that's in focus. So in between those values, there's gonna be a sweet spot around 33. I'd say this is not too bad. I don't have time. I don't want the video to be long, but basically it's gonna be in between 0 and 33, I'd say. All right. Another thing that is a problem is the auto exposure. In this case, we're using the sun, so it's not a bad thing. It's actually exposing for our face, which is good because you can see my face. We have some streaks here. Because of that, the background is completely blown. It's not good. We want to turn off auto exposure. This is not necessary. All right. If you have good lighting, usually this is gonna be fine. But this is what you would light it. I have no lights for my face. In the real world, you would want your background to look like that, and then we would put that. We're gonna go ahead and put that Streamplify Ring light in order to light my face, and yeah, background is gonna look pretty good. As you can see, this is not a bad camera at all. It's actually pretty sharp. It can be a little noisy over there and stuff like that, but with appropriate lights, you can make this look good. This is totally usable for a YouTube video. In fact, you're watching a YouTube video using it right now. And there's something with a white balance. Basically, if you show it certain colors, it might try to switch up the colors on you. One thing you can do is put like something that is white, that is pure white, and it will adjust. It's not something that I can really demonstrate, but basically you can make it look a little warmer or a little bluer. I tend to go with the colder because it makes my teeth look whiter. After all that, we're gonna click apply. Keep in mind that you might have to do this every single time you reboot your computer. There are some plugins for OBS to remember those things. There are some better camera. For example, the Elgato Facecam is not gonna give you that issue every time you reboot. It's gonna be a better looking camera, but on top of that, it's also gonna remember the settings, so you pay more money and it gets more convenient, as I always say. All right, $100 setup, free light with the sun, camera about 50 bucks, mic about 50 bucks. This is what $100 gives you. Let's add some money to the equation. All right, so for the smallest Streamplify Ring light, this is what it's like. I'm gonna turn it, I think, full power. Boom, on warm light, I believe it is. No, cold light, I believe it is. I can switch it up, as you can see, and it creates that weird contrast. This is mixed. I think I'm gonna keep it here. We're so not in focus. All right, so I set my focus to 55, and it seems to be a little bit better right now. As you can see, the ring light is doing a pretty good job at lighting my face, even though there's the sun coming into the room behind me. So we managed to maintain, a background that is not totally blown out because of the sun. We can, we have actual good levels of grays in the background. Everything is white in this room, so it's probably not helping, but it's not too bad. Now, for someone with my skin complexion, ring lights are still kind of harsh, which makes it kind of difficult. If you start sweating, my skin is gonna look like shiny, like too shiny. That's a preference. To me, ring lights, especially cheap ones, are not gonna be really like a beauty light. So I personally avoid using them, but this is what you can achieve by adding just the Streamplify tiniest ring light on top of your C920 with an Elgato Wave 1. Now, how can we improve this? By adding our own background lights so that we don't rely on the sun. So we took care of audio, light, camera. We just need extra light or decoration light. Let's do it. Curtains are closed, and as you can see, simply with the ring light, this is the effect that you would get. Again, if your skin is like paler, it will probably diffuse the light a little bit better, and you can just run your YouTube channel like this, to be honest. But we're gonna add those RGB floodlights that I talked about. We're gonna add a single one and see how that looks like. This one is pointed direct. You can actually see it in frame. This one, I like it to be pointed at my hair because it's mostly my shoulder light, my hair light, basically. And then I have another one that's gonna be pointed at the room. So every single time we add a floodlight, count something like $20. All right, we're gonna add a second one. All right, and to me, this is a pretty good setup, but the problem right now we're getting is that the ring light is struggling a little bit. Those are very powerful. Those are 50 watt floodlights. So if I were you, if you're gonna use a webcam setup, I would go with, a lower power when it comes to the floodlights. I usually use a mirrorless camera, so I need, the most powerful stuff, and the webcam kind of struggles with it, but this is not a bad setup. Maybe a little too blue since that color right here is gonna be blue. But remember the white balance, we can still adjust that straight into the software. Let me bring that in. There you go. We have something that is more purple, but we are getting my skin tone back a little bit more, and boom, there you go. So that's, let's say that this is a $40 setup. You can get 2 RGB floodlights for way less than that. Of course, there's gonna be the mounting options and all that, but C920, Wave 1, Streamplify ring light, and then 2 RGB floodlights. This is decent. This is pretty decent. Running 30 FPS, but hey, you can run a YouTube channel like that. So what I've done now is that I've added some, pretty cheap decoration lights behind my shelf here. I have like a $12 RGB strip light, all the LEDs turn on at once. Very, very cheap. You can get everywhere. Some of them connect in USB, some of them you have to buy an adapter, whatever. This is the Govee RGB-IC 5-meter RGB strip, and then this is an Elgato neon light. This one is not for sale, but you can pick up something similar on Amazon for something like 20 bucks, 25 bucks, right? So this is, if you have your lighting set up for you, where you feel like you look good, this is where you can start decorating. I usually have like a whole neon light here and everything, but I'm redoing all of my stuff right now, so shh. All right, so this would be considered a budget setup. Again, C920, Streamplify Ring light, Elgato Wave 1, 2 RGB floodlights, which you wouldn't want to have them in frame like that. The C920 has a wider angle than my normal camera, which is why you see them now, but technically you wouldn't want them to be in frame. I usually try my best to hide them like that, but hey, pretty decent setup. You can't tell me that you can't run a YouTube channel like this. I'm just remembering that if you don't have access to the C920, or for some reason it's way more than 50 or 60 bucks, Streamplify has their own webcam, which I reviewed on my tech channel. So there will be a link to that review in the description. Make sure you check it out. I just don't have it with me right now, so I can't show you the difference, but I will be making like a comparison, a side-by-side between the C920 and the Streamplify cam. All right, now everything is kind of washed because I've added an Elgato Keylight. This is a light panel that is super convenient. It is more on the expensive side, but that is because it is super reliable. It has good durability, and also it's connected, so you can connect it through you can control it through a Stream Deck if that's something that you're gonna invest in. But since it's Wi-Fi, it gives you access to a whole lot of possibilities. For example, I could control it with my home assistant, my Amazon Echo, for example, if you have Google Assistant and all that good stuff. This is just a good light when it comes to professionally creating content. Now, I see a lot of people buying a pair of those and putting them on the side. This is not necessarily like the best way to use them. In my opinion, a single one slightly pointed at the wall in front of you is the best way to do it. You're gonna have softer lighting coming from one side, which is gonna create contrast on the other one. I'm gonna turn off the ring light so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, and then we're gonna adjust the exposure. So I turn off the ring light, and immediately you can see this is more similar to this is my actual setup when I'm recording videos, and the setup is pretty simple. Elgato Keylight is coming from here, and it's pointed at the wall a little bit, right? Slightly. A bit of it is touching my face, but it's bouncing all that big light on my face, so I'm getting really softer shadows. Now, if I sweat a little bit, it's not gonna be that visible. Now, as you can see, my contrast is pretty low, right? It's mostly gray and all of that stuff, mostly because a lot of light sources. If I do this is the biggest culprit. We're getting a lens flare. Again, that's why you don't want the light to be in the frame. I'm gonna double click. I'm just gonna change that real quick. You can up the contrast in here if you want to, but since this is very bright, you can also maybe play with the exposure a little bit, maybe lower it to see what you would get at -7. And I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty nice. This is pretty nice, and this is pretty smooth. We get way less noise because we have proper lighting. Our lighting is powerful enough so that the camera doesn't have to push its gain as much, right? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I see this as a proper setup. You're getting kind of a soft light coming from the side. You're getting that specific projector on the side of my face, which I can switch the colors as much as I want, right? Now I have it more like blue-ish. I have another projector pointing at the room, and if I turn that on, if I turn that off, the room is gonna get less light, as you can see, but that one single projector that is pointed at my hair and the side of my face is enough to basically fill the room with that color. So a single one is possible. One single Elgato Keylight, one Logitech C920, and one Elgato Wave 1. You have yourself a proper setup to create content from your computer. The disadvantages here is that you turned off auto exposure. So if something is blown out, it's gonna be hard to get anything to blow. If something gets purely white here, the camera will not adjust, but that's fine. You have to set it up in a way that this won't happen. Basically, if I do this, you can't tell that anything is blowing out. Again, this should not be in the frame. But you also had to turn off autofocus, meaning that if you wanna show anything up close like this and completely out of focus. The cool thing with the C920 once again is that if you really want to focus on it, just remember the number. We are at 55 right now. I'm not even sure that's the best, but I could do this, go to camera control, go to focus, and we remember that it's gonna be from 55 to whatever the extra number is there. So if I put this and I pull, and now it's in focus, and I should probably cut my nails eventually, but at 150 it is in focus, so you can show whatever you want and it'll look in focus and really good. The C920 is great for product showcase like that. Just put it back to 55. Not letting me type. Whatever, let's just grab it and manually bring it back to 55. Nice. And now we're in focus. So that's an issue. If you're recording, okay, this is a bad workflow. It's gonna slow you down a lot. But if you get a better camera, then you're not gonna have that issue. I'm gonna click apply. I'm gonna click okay. Let's go back. So again, C920, Elgato Keylight, Elgato Wave 1, single RGB projector, but it's 50 watts, so it's pretty bright. If you can manage to have decent looking video with that specific setup, then it might be time for you to consider getting a better camera. This is where you might go for a DSLR. This is where you're gonna invest a lot. Basically, hopefully the content you've been making so far has been able to give you enough money to go all out on a camera. I would suggest maybe a mirrorless just because they're small, but if you don't have that much money, look up cameras that have a clean HDMI output. You can buy a capture card and then plug that to your computer, and then you get the output. You're gonna get basically DSLR quality straight into OBS. The Elgato Camlink is great, but there has been some new smaller ones. I think I have one somewhere here. This one was $9. And I can use this to connect my camera to OBS, no problems. It doesn't need to have any audio port because I'm not gonna use the audio from my camera. I'm gonna use the audio from my microphone. So what type of camera should you get next? I would probably go with something that is not too far from the price of a webcam. If I start with a C920, I'm not gonna lie, I would not upgrade to another webcam unless you absolutely want it to be as compact as possible. And in that case, I would recommend the Elgato Facecam. But the Elgato Facecam is a webcam, okay? It doesn't do any extra miracles. It looks better than the C920, but it doesn't have autofocus. It doesn't have a mic, which is a good thing because no one uses their webcam's mic. It is more convenient. So if you have an issue setting up your stuff all the time, yes, I would go for the Elgato Facecam. But me personally, I would probably go from webcam to DSLR or mirrorless cameras immediately. I'm not gonna tell you exactly which one, but I got myself a Sony ZV1, which wasn't necessarily because I wanted to stream with it or anything. I thought I was gonna travel in 2020 and I was wrong. So I just said, hey, let me just use it as my main camera. It looks decent. You can get higher quality and better looking images for cheaper. The Sony ZV1 is kind of an overkill, but it's still less than $1,000. I'm using it with a capture card that was sent to me for free. It's a 4K capture card, but I use it at 1080p 60 FPS. And this is what it looks like. So, Sony ZV1, C920. Sony ZV1, C920. This one has impeccable autofocus, so I'm gonna look sharper. It has a larger sensor, so we're gonna get a little bit of bokeh. Things are gonna be slightly out of focus, and then the autofocus usually doesn't struggle at all as long as I put it in. I have it set to the middle. So if I do this, it's not gonna chase focus most of the time unless I get out of frame. And it's convenient. It shoots in 4K, which I pretty much never use. It goes up to 120 FPS, which I almost never use. But 1080p, 60 FPS looks pretty smooth. I think I paid 800 euros when it first came out. And of course, it manages the colors way better. It manages the light way better. I have some options when it comes to light presets. Basically, I can make it very low contrast or high contrast. This is the preset that I stay with. And yeah, this is the setup you get. So $800 just for the camera. And we're still using a $50 mic, not gonna lie. One single Elgato Keylight for the side of my face. One single RGB floodlight for the other side of my face, and also my hair and also my shoulders. And I can turn on the extra one for the room, even though the room is still being lit by that single RGB floodlight that is 50 watts. It is pretty powerful, that's why I use it. And then we have that second one. I actually have a diffuser on it right now. That's why you can see that little part here. It's a foam diffuser. Let me take it off. There we go, and you can see it really hits that wall. So if I really want that color, it is absolutely perfect. I usually do not want that little shine to show at all, so I would probably do that. And yeah, this is the setup. If I turn on the webcam again, C920 is gonna look like really it's gonna look really washed. I think I still don't have the focus right. I have the focus at 52 right now. Now there are some things there are some extra things that you can do with the C920 to make it look a little bit better. If I double click, for example, if I'm using OBS as my software, I can definitely go right click, click on filters, click plus, and do something like sharpen, right? Sharpen. You can overdo it if you want, but if we sharpen a lot, we're gonna get a very sharp image. Let's go back what that looks like. As you can see, way sharper, maybe a little too sharp. It's gonna emphasis on whatever noise you have, but if your lighting is good, then you're not gonna have that much noise. It's something to play around with to get it closer to what you would want. The contrast might wanna go up. I'm not seeing, like, this is not shiny enough basically, so I would probably go to configure video, bump up the contrast a little bit. The darks are gonna get darker, and then the highlights are gonna get highlighter. There's also extra sharpness that you can control here. Probably should have done that instead of the filter. And for the filter, we would want something maybe half of that, 18. There you go. Problem is with the focus, it's not that great. Yeah, DSLR is, well, mirrorless is probably gonna look better no matter what, especially since we have that little glaze and that little blurry background that just makes everything looks, whatever's in focus is gonna look great. I'm gonna turn the hair light to blue. Oh, it is too blue, never mind. If I turn that background light to blue, then we have pure blue. Let's keep it purple. Now, one thing you're gonna realize I didn't really switch out, because I switched out the light. You know, I used the sun, and I used the ring light, and I used the Keylight. I used the Elgato C920, I used the Sony ZV1, but I didn't switch out the mic. In my opinion, this mic is just good enough, to be fair, no matter what level you're at, as long as you can add, you know, proper VSTs. If it's not enough, there's always the Elgato Wave DX. I know it's not supposed to look like that. I customized it myself with the Wave XLR or with whatever you want, but I don't really want to go into audio. If you want to learn more about audio or whatever mic you have right now, you want to make it sound way better, straight into OBS or just using a bunch of other tips that I have, you're gonna love this video right there. But hopefully this video was helpful enough for you. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Go out there, make me proud, get level, out.